Hello there, Market Insights watchers and Market Roundup. AI is making its mark as Nvidia shares are soaring. We'll find out what this means for stocks in our portfolios. And tech megatrends, the next AI trend is here. And I got to tell you, I'm speaking about generative AI and the prescription drug market, pharmaceutical companies. A new McKinsey study finds that this 1-2 combo could become 110 billion per year economic windfall. And I'll share how to trade it. And in Crypto Corner, our top-notch research analyst, Andrew Prince, will join us to share why the digital gaming market is an investment opportunity not to be missed. So with that being said, let's get started. Hello, Ian. How you doing today?
I'm good, Amber. How are you?
Doing fine. Enjoying
Yeah.
So far, so good.
We haven't been replaced yet by machines, so
you never know.
we got that going for us at least.
Yeah, exactly.
Someday, right?
No,
you're irreplaceable, Amber. I shouldn't say.
Thank you. You too, Ian. You too.
Thank you.
So
maybe we are avatars right now, though.
You think so? Let me pinch myself. It's me. So in Market Roundup, Ian and everyone, Nvidia reported earnings last week and they were stellar. The chip maker reported amazing results that really reaffirmed Wall Street's hedge and its bets on the potential of AI's technologies. So the chip maker also just gave a forward-looking guidance that truly exceeded expectations, being pushed higher by its AI spending at its largest customers, which include Meta Platforms. And this full disclosure here, Meta Platforms is in our strategic fortunes model portfolio, and we're showing an open gain of about 81% right now. So as per Bloomberg, Nvidia's price surge left short sellers with about $3 billion in paper losses when that happened.
I would hate to be on that side of the trade. That's a tough trade to be in.
Tough trade. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So right now, Nvidia is well on its way to becoming the first semiconductor firm with about a $2 trillion valuation. And quote from Bloomberg, another milestone is its ascendancy as the biggest beneficiary of a rush into artificial intelligence or related stocks over the past year, end quote. So Ian, though we're not invested in Nvidia, a rising tide lifts all boats, right? So how do you feel about this particular?
That's right. So, the rise in Nvidia has just been crazy. It tripled last year. It's up something like 50% already this year. You got to think about it this way. So Nvidia is 80% of the GPU market. Okay. So, and the reason why their sales have tripled in the last year is because of what are called hyperscalers in AI. And hyperscalers are companies like Microsoft, Google, Meta, who basically have an unlimited budget to spend. And you might wonder, like, well, why is Microsoft spending so much money on buying NVIDIA GPUs? It's quite simply Microsoft's Copilot product, right, which has a generative AI aspect to it, costs about $20 a month. So if you do the math, Microsoft has about 500 million enterprise customers. $20 a month additional is $10 billion in revenues, right? So, I mean, who wouldn't want $10 billion extra a month raining down on them just by building systems? And the thing with AI is that in order to get these higher levels of AI that we've seen, right, with ChatGPT 3, they did like 3.5 and 4, you have to spend and build a bigger data center. Okay, so it becomes a problem of how many of these GPUs can you put together to run higher, more complex levels of AI. Initially, you were only talking about 100 million parameters. Then you went to 100 billion parameters. The next version of ChatGPT is going to have like 1.7 trillion parameters. So you're exponentially growing the amount of parameters, which means like different types of data that it is exposed to and has to compute. You have to have bigger, faster machines. ChatGPT 3 machine costs about $100 million to build. And now we're talking about $10 billion systems. And Sam Altman was saying, someday we'll probably have $1 trillion AI system, which is, in my mind, kind of hard to fathom. The thing with Nvidia is that this is like a classic mania stock where it's like the thing is going up. It doesn't seem rational. Then all of a sudden the earnings come out and it justifies why the stock is up so much. They have more demand than they have supply. They're able to raise price of GPUs. A competitor of them is AMD. Obviously, that stock has been up a lot, and I do think that AMD is going to have a nice run here.
Good.
The other thing is that where does this end? Well, all of these hyperscalers, Microsoft, Facebook, Google, are now trying to build their own chips. Now,
Mm-hmm.
it's not an easy thing that they can do, overnight. And with Nvidia having 80% of the market, you would think that these large tech companies are eventually going to have their own chips, similar to how Apple used to use AMD and before that Intel chips in their MacBooks. Now they use their or they're on the M2 chips that they
Mm-hmm.
made themselves, right? To basically lower the cost of the computer. You're going to see that happen with AI. Now, the other thing too is that we say a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yep.
So what I think Nvidia is doing, and especially with AI, is we're in the process of kicking off an entire new PC cycle, which
Mm.
means that most PCs people bought in 2020, right? I mean, you remember what happened in 2020, Amber?
Oh, Y2, wait.
Y2K.
COVID. I'm thinking 2000. Don't ask me why.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's okay. COVID, right? COVID. We
Wait.
all went to work from home. The government
Mhm.
gave us $600 checks, $1,200 checks. A lot of people went out. They had to work from home. So the company gave them a new laptop, a new
Mhm.
desktop computer. There was a PC cycle that happened then.
Right.
And now all these computers are 4 years old. So at some point, you have to upgrade
Mhm.
because of AI and because that these systems take higher compute power, especially if you want to run it locally. You're going to start to see a faster speed up in the PC cycle.
That's right.
And I think this is really what it's tipping off. So just a little tease, next month, Strategic Fortunes issue, which is coming out very soon,
Yep.
actually, if not
Yeah.
yet,
Yeah. Mhm.
um, is a play on this. So I basically a chip company that is going to benefit from this new PC cycle that we believe is about to be tipped off because of the wave of generative AI. And I would just leave the last thing, people say, well, how much are companies actually going to use this? Global survey of CEOs believe that generative AI will be beneficial to their business and they're going to figure out ways that they can use it. 70% of them said that, right? So
Wow.
you have like almost 3/4 of CEOs saying, hey, yeah, we're going to have to figure out how we can use AI in our business, because
Mm.
what happens is company A uses AI, becomes more efficient, higher profit margins, can spend more on marketing or whatever, investing in their business. Company B doesn't. Company B realizes to keep up with company A, they need to spend money on AI too. So, you have this kind of uh, tech war in the sense, in like kind of what we had with the internet, where people started having more software involved in their business to make them more efficient. And then all of a sudden, everyone was using some type of software-based platform. So I think that's the type of uh, a cycle that's being tipped off by generative AI. Basically, how companies are trying to integrate it into their business processes.
Amazing. Okay, Ian. I love that. It's the super cycle we're seeing ramp
Mhm.
up there. So speaking of generative AI, in tech megatrends this week, the next AI trend is here. And I'm speaking about generative AI and prescription drugs.
Mm.
So bear with me. So a new study from McKinsey Global Institute finds that generative AI could offer pharmaceutical companies a quote unquote once in a century opportunity, a century, with some planning. So first, generative AI or Gen I is a process of using AI to make content like text, images, videos without a human showing it how to do it. So according to McKinsey Global, Gen AI is, quote, revamping the way pharmaceutical companies generate and operate and potentially unlocking billions of dollars in value. McKinsey has estimated that the technology could generate $60 billion to $110 billion a year in economic value for the pharmaceutical and medical product industries, largely because it can boost productivity by accelerating the process of identifying compounds of possible new drugs, really speeding their development and approval, and improving the way they are marketed. End quote. So, in all, pharmaceutical companies have long used artificial intelligence to solve the elements of disease. And overall, Gen AI could help pharmaceuticals or pharmas accelerate drug discovery, thereby helping cure more diseases faster, produce more efficient clinical trials, make quicker regulatory approvals, and create ultra targeted marketing materials generated in house at the pharmaceutical companies. So I was thinking about this, and to invest in this generative AI, of course, trend in general, which we've been discussing so far today, consider buying shares in the Round Hill Generative AI and Technology ETF. It's a fairly newer ETF. It's done fairly well. The ticker for that one is CHAT. CHAT. This exchange traded fund is just designed and made to provide exposure to companies involved in the investment theme of artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence, and all the related technologies. So wanted to give everyone an actionable item there.
That's great. I love the idea, Amber. I would also note that this ETF gives you exposure to both Nvidia and also the hyperscalers. There is one company in particular that I don't want to disclose, but we have it in the True Momentum portfolio, and it is basically a play on they use machine learning and artificial intelligence to create new drug compounds. Because to build a new drug molecule, you have to figure out the way that certain proteins fold and how they pair with one another.
Mhm.
And doing that is like a big mathematical problem. And
Mhm.
to help solve that mathematical problem, you can use AI in ways you couldn't before. So
Mhm.
there are another number of companies trying this right now, but the one in particular that we like is in the True Momentum portfolio. And this company has a strategic investment from Nvidia. So,
Okay.
uh, yeah,
You heard it here. You heard
that's
it
all I'm
here.
going to say.
Okay, that's fine with me. That sounds good to me, Ian. Now let's turn to Crypto Corner. This week we have our top-notch research analyst, Andrew Prince, with us, and he's here to discuss something that's very interesting that's happening in the gaming market, in the digital gaming market. So Andrew, good to see you. How are you today?
Doing great, Amber. How are you?
Doing fine. Thank you. So glad you're here.
Yeah,
So,
Amber, I'm glad Andrew's here because,
yeah.
as you said, we're talking about video games, right?
Mhm.
And, you know, Andrew, you're a millennial, right, Andrew?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So, like, who better to tell us about video games than a millennial, right? Like, our generation, we played like Atari, then Nintendo, and then,
Nintendo, yeah.
but Andrew knows a lot more about video games than either of us. So that's why we brought him in. And we want to talk about how video games and the crypto world are converging right now.
Mhm.
So first things first, I just kind of want to give everyone a little bit of an outline on the digital asset space and why crypto is important for video games. And then Andrew can talk more about the video game industry and what we're seeing develop with crypto.
Mhm.
So, like, Amber, imagine you took a photo of Alex.
Mhm.
For those of you who don't know, Alex is her dog, and Amber takes lots of photos of Alex.
I do.
And you send that photo of Alex to, like, your 5 best friends.
Mhm.
And I don't want to, maybe you have 10 best friends or something like that. Okay.
Don't want to have
So
that.
so each of your 5 friends
Yeah.
now has that photo of Alex.
Mhm.
But and that photo can be easily replicated. They could send that photo of Alex to 10 other friends. And now there will be soon, hundreds of photos of Alex floating around in cyberspace.
Okay.
With crypto,
Mhm.
you can actually track where that first photo was created
Mm.
and do it in a way to give provenance to that image. And we do that by having a blockchain that keeps track of who owns what and who creates what. And the blockchain is maintained not by a centralized tech company like Facebook or Google, but by a decentralized network of people. So it's very difficult. If Facebook said, "Hey, all your photos are ours," and they shut you down, all those digital things that you created and put on Facebook are gone. But with crypto, you own those digital assets. And if you want to move from Facebook to somewhere else, you can just take your digital private data with you. Okay. The
Mhm.
other thing, and what Andrew's going to talk about, is the implication for this in the video game space. Because, Andrew, I mean, how many hours a day does the average gamer spend gaming? Or how much money a year do they spend?
So in terms of money a year, $215 is about what the average player spends per year on video games.
Mhm.
Um,
So about what I used to spend in a week on baseball cards as a kid, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the way you spend that $215 has changed drastically. So when I grew up playing video games, if I break down the math that way,
Mhm.
to me, $215 equates to maybe three top of the line games and then a few from independent studios or something, some smaller, older games. But in a way, I could see spreading that cost across, anywhere from 3 to 6 games a year.
Right.
And I would own those games. I would have those games forever. And
So
that's
that's important because people need to know this. Like back in the day, like when Amber and I were kids, like long time ago,
Yeah.
like Amber, you played Atari or Nintendo, right?
I played Nintendo, still have it
Awesome.
in the
So
garage somewhere.
you actually went to the gaming store and you would buy the
Yeah.
cartridge. And now
Mhm.
gaming is different, Andrew. Explain how that's different nowadays.
Yeah, now most of the games, you're not buying CDs or anything anymore. You're just downloading them. And once you download them, it's not like you have them forever. It's kind of like buying a car thinking you've got the top level trim, and then you get in and there are all these blank buttons. And
Hmm.
you're like, what are these features that I don't have? And you got to pay extra for those features.
Hmm.
Okay.
And that's where people end up sinking more of their money into. So technically, you could these days justify spending $215 on just one game.
And that's globally, right? So you're talking about not only like the United States, which I'm sure the kids here spend a lot more than $215 a year. Their parents and grandparents can attest. But that's also overseas in areas of the world where like the annual, per capita GDP is a lot lower than it is in the US, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's a global figure. Yeah.
Mhm. So the
And
kids are playing the games and they're
right.
and they're developing their characters. And at the end of the day, what happens?
So a popular example of this is the V-Bucks found on Fortnite.
Hmm.
There are horror stories of children using their parents' credit card to buy 500, $1,000 worth of V-Bucks.
Yeah.
And they're just in the game now, and you can't spend it on anything except in-game items. You
Hmm.
can't convert that back to money or anything, and you can't even transfer that to another account or another gamer. That's just V-Bucks you have to spend in the game. And you see a lot of parents going, how can a child, justify spending that much money on video games? But the thing is, if you ask the child, there is 500 to $1,000 worth of things that they can buy on those video games. So, though they can justify that number of V-Bucks. But yeah, essentially, once you put that money into a video game, then it's like setting that money on fire. You're never going to see it again.
So we
And
laugh about, the numbers like, okay, kids are spending a couple $100, but like, how big is the video game industry globally
so
annually?
globally, the video game industry by the end of 2024 is expected to be is expected to bring in revenues of 282 billion
Billion.
globally.
Okay. Okay. So a lot of
And
these kids add up.
yeah. It's all of these kids putting in money little by little, buying these virtual currencies or, paying for things like battle passes, which work like subscriptions. Essentially, you're locking a feature in a game and saying, hey, if you want to play this, you've got to, pay for the season pass and then you can play it. And so, yeah, they're just sinking money into this.
Okay. So, Andrew, from an investor perspective, for those watching today,
I love
what
how Amber always brings this back to like, let's stop talking about games. Let's see how we can make money on
how
this,
can we make
Amber.
money?
You asked that question.
Exactly. So, what's the best bet for a Main Street investor to get into this market and take advantage of these multi-billion-dollars in revenue?
For a Well, there isn't a great opportunity with traditional gaming other than buying stocks in these gaming companies.
Right.
But if you're willing to give the crypto side of gaming, which is on the rise now,
Mhm.
if you're willing to give that a chance, you can be both a gamer and an investor in a sense, because on one hand, you can invest in the tokens for these video games and, wait until they go up in value and cash them out. Or, you could just do what gamers are doing now, which is just investing in their characters, buying different upgrades for them and things, using crypto this time instead of your credit card. And once you're done, upgrading this character to whatever you want it to be, and say you're done with it or you're done with the game, you can sell that to someone, and the market will come up with a price for whatever character that you've created, and you might actually make your money back, and
Hmm.
or make more than you put into it. but there won't be as much of a risk of you just losing all the money that you put into it.
I was going to ask you, Ian, do you have any of these tokens in Next Wave Crypto Fortunes?
Oh, we sure do. I'm
Okay.
glad you asked that. Yeah, one gaming company in particular, which is
Mhm.
why I brought Andrew on, because the question that I want to ask, and I think our viewers want to hear the answer to this.
Mhm.
So gaming studios spend billions of dollars investing in these video games and developing them, right? A Grand Theft Auto is coming out with their next one. Roughly, like, how much money does, like, they spend more money in these video games producing them than like a movie studio would spend on a movie, right? Because they can
Yeah,
be more
absolutely.
profitable, right?
Yeah, they spend billions on this, and that's part of the reason why they keep charging these subscription fees and these add-ons and these microtransactions just to make their money back.
Mm.
So the question is here, how, because you know the gaming industry much better than I do, how close is a crypto game to becoming like equivalent to one of these like video games? You know, because like crypto games are always like not that great, nobody was playing them, but do we have something that's like comparable where it's like people are going to start playing blockchain based games soon?
So the thing is, in the initial days of crypto games, yeah, there were all these weird casino and gambling type games,
Right.
which appeals to a certain population, the
Mhm.
sports betting type fan, and it works for them. But general action and adventure games, there weren't enough of those.
Mm.
And there were two limitations that we saw. One was you didn't have blockchains fast enough to run these games, which we're overcoming. And so now we can accommodate better games and more players.
Mhm.
And then the other thing is just about making a good game. It's not just a cash grab, or you're not just trying to make some money. You're trying to actually make a good game, like a lot of studios do. So, in that sense, big companies like Sony and Atari are actually getting in on the game, and they're working with some crypto projects to bring games that are action and adventure oriented. That a lot of them feel similar to League of Legends and all of those types of games that were super big hits back in the day. And so, yeah, we are seeing the market trend towards that. And there are more crypto projects that are supporting games like that. So we
So
should see better player adoption in that sense.
So we're talking about $350 billion of annual revenues migrating over to blockchain-based games. Not going to happen in, all of it's not going to move in a year, but we're going to start to see crypto starting to eat the market share. Users are going to see the advantage of it because they get to keep those digital assets, right? In my
Right.
mind, the end of the day, like, those games are built on top of Ethereum and Solana. So like all the value is going to accrue to both the gaming companies that are building it and then also the underlying blockchains.
Mm.
I think this is like like as like decentralized finance and NFTs and various kinds of media, provisioning digital resources, like gaming. These are all different types of sectors that are going to start migrating over to blockchains in the next couple of years. And
Mm.
you're saying, I completely agree with you that like it's close. It's not going to happen overnight, but some of these like crypto currencies that manage these games are trading at a fraction of the value of what the gaming companies' stocks are worth. So like the risk there is almost asymmetric, where your downside of the crypto is not very much. The upside could be 10, even 100x in some cases.
Mm.
So Andrew, I want to thank you for joining us. That was some great insight into the video game industry. And I think, Amber, you want to ask him one more question before he
I
goes.
do. I have one more question for you, Andrew, while you're here. What do you play? What's your video game of choice?
So the one thing I've stayed loyal to since I was a kid is the Halo franchise. I buy every one of those games that comes out. I know people like some of the games and don't like some of the games. I like them all. I buy every single one the second it comes out, and yeah, play it over and over.
It's pretty cool, Andrew.
All right, pretty cool. All right, Andrew, thanks again for joining us. And I think that's it for Market Insights this week, Amber, right?
Yes, that is. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you very much. If you do have a question for us on crypto, the markets, or megatrends, please email us at marketinsights@bannonhill.com.
Bye.